Hey guys, what's up? This is White Boy for the win, and welcome back to Why Mega Evolve. Now, earlier last week we talked about Mega Lunatone, and today we're going to be talking about Mega Skuntank. But before we get started, let me just give you guys a brief explanation on what this series is about. Now, every week we'll be picking two Pokemon that either need a Mega Evolution, deserve a Mega Evolution, or want a Mega Evolution for. Now, this is based off my opinion alone, and no one else's. Now, if you guys do not like my opinion, then please post your opinions in the comment section down below about what would you keep, what would you change, and etc. And at the end of every video, we'll be telling you guys which Pokemon we'll be talking about the following day. So with that said, here is Mega Skuntank. Now, Skuntank for me, I rarely see this thing in competitive play, and it does have a really good moveset, because most of the time whenever I see a Skuntank in competitive play, it's usually there just for defog, because it's weird because Skuntank does get access to defog. Now, I'm not just saying that it's only there just because of that move. I mean, it does have more offensive moves that can actually benefit with obviously its typing, and also just in all around general for competitive play, because it does get access to moves like, if I'm not mistaken, it does get access to like Poison Jab. It does get access to Poison Jab, it gets access to Crunch, it gets access to Fire Blast, Shadow Ball, Flamethrower. I mean, it does get access to a very good variety of moves, so it actually does do well in competitive play. But like I said, I whenever I see Skuntank, it's more so just for defog. So I would like to see this thing receive a Mega Evolution. That way, it'll become not, I wouldn't say popular, but it'll be used a lot more, I would say, because when it comes down to Megas, I mean, obviously, like, they're supposed to make like bad Pokemon good, or just good Pokemon even better. Regardless of what, like, Mega Evolutions are supposed to help Pokemon, and I feel like Skuntank is one of those Pokemon where it doesn't need a Mega, but it wouldn't hurt, because it can help it out in the long run, because its stats are not all that great. And so a Mega Evolution would be the next best thing, because we don't even know if we're going to be getting evolutions in Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon, so only time will tell. I kind of highly doubt it though, because the only Pokemon I probably see getting another evolution is probably Eevee, but that's pretty much for a whole other video. But anyways, like I said, I feel like Skuntank is a very underrated Pokemon from 4th gen, and I feel like a Mega Evolution would help it like tremendously. So as you can tell from what I've done to its stats, I did increase everything, because honestly I felt like everything needed to get increased. Now, for its physical attack, I increased it from base 93 to base 113. Now, granted, if you cannot tell, I actually increased all of its stats by pretty much 20. I pretty much evenly distributed the base 100 stats a normal Mega gets, because I felt like everything needed to get increased, and I didn't want to overly increase something more so than another stat, because to be completely honest, all of its stats like desperately needed to get increased. And if we only get 100 base stats, then I feel like that just distributing 20 to all of its stats is probably the next best thing. So that's pretty much what I did. So this video is a little bit shorter, and I know you guys have been telling me that shorter videos are better because of like time issues and like people are working and stuff like that. So I guess this is going to be falling around one of those type of videos. But once again, for base 113 physical attack, I mean, obviously Skuntank is a more physical attacker rather than a special attacker, but once again, like I said, it's a very good hard-hitting physical attacker. I've actually seen people use this thing in competitive play. Personally, for me, like, it's just one of those things, I said this before in previous videos, it's just, I had like a fuck ton of battle ready Pokemon on my PC and Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, and before I transferred them all over to Pokebank. But like, I usually just grab like 6 random Pokemon or 5 random Pokemon and then a Mega, and then go on to Battle Spot and just pretty much just fuck around, because that's usually what I do when I'm like hella bored. But that was pretty much the only time I ever used Skuntank, and I never used the defog set. I always used like an offensive set, so it actually does hit hard if you can actually get off a move, because it does get access, like I said, like Poison Jab, so that's a stab poison type a physical move that this thing gets access to. The one thing that I really like about this thing is that this thing gets access to Play Rough. That's one of the best moves in the game. This thing gets access to Crunch, it gets access to Payback, it gets access to Dig. What other moves is this thing? It gets access to Explosion, Night Slash. I mean, so, like, you kind of get the point. Like, it does have very good physical moves that this thing can benefit from, and base 113 isn't honestly all half bad. let me see. It does get access to Hone Claws, so if you guys want to like run a Hone Claws set, then that could also be a thing. Looking at its other moves, it does not get access to like Swords Dance or Power Up Punch. So the only thing you have is, if you want to raise its physical attack, is to use Hone's Claws. I could have sworn this thing got access to Superpower, but it does not, surprisingly. It gets access to Sucker Punch, so that is also another move you can actually run if you wanted to. But once again, the main point, it does have good physical moves that this thing can actually benefit from for competitive play. So base 113 isn't all half bad, and with the tier that it's in, I can see this thing being a very big threat. Now for its special attack, I increased it from base 71 to base 91. Now once again, I felt like its special attack also needed to get increased as well, because it does have some special moves that this thing can actually use, and I also seen some special variants, or should I say mixed attackers, or mixed Skuntank whenever I see someone use a Skuntank sometimes, because it does get access to like Flamethrower, Fire Blast, so those are moves that Skuntank does get access to, and with this thing being a poison type, it does get access to Sludge Bomb. I don't think it also gets access to Venoshock as well. Now it also gets access to, I could have sworn I saw it. Yeah, Shadow Ball. So that is also a couple other coverage moves that you can run. It gets access to Incinerate, Dark Pulse, Flame Burst, Smog. I mean, once again, like, it does get access to very good special moves that you can run on this thing. And if you want to run like a mixed attacker for a Skuntank, then it is actually doable, because base 91 I would say is a very decent special attack set if you're going to want to run a mixed attacker, or just, and if you want to just in general want to run like a special attacking Skuntank, that is also a possibility as well. Now for both of its defenses, I increased it from base its physical defense from base 67 to base 87, and its special defense from base 61 to base 81. Now that's partially the now I also wanted to increase its defenses quite a bit, but like I said, all of its stats needed to get increased at even if it's just a little bit. So like I said, I decided to evenly distribute the base 100 stats a normal Mega gets. So I feel like base 87 and base 81 for both its physical defense and special defense is actually going to be very bulky for a Pokemon like Skuntank, because its HP is at base 103 and it maxes out at 410 if you actually have like max HP. But I don't think that's going to be the ordeal, because I can pretty much see this thing being like max speed, max physical attack, and or max special attack, and vice versa if you guys want to run like a mixed attacker. That's honestly how I actually see Mega Skuntank ending up to be. But it does have some natural bulk behind it now, with like base 80 above physical defensive stats and also special defensive stats. So I can see this thing eating up a couple of hits as well in the lower tier, because I know there are some powerful Pokemon in the lower tier. I can't really name off the top of my head, just because I don't play like low tier, but I know there are some low tier Pokemon that can actually do some work when it comes to like Skuntank, or should I say Mega Skuntank, if this actually does happen. Now for its speed, I increased it from base 84 to base 104. I feel like this thing needed to get a speed increase, just because like I feel like this thing needs to be a lot faster, and also with the stats that I've given it, I can actually see this thing being like max speed, max physical attack, and or max special attack. I've already said this like a couple seconds ago, but I can see this thing running like maybe a Jolly Nature or a Naive Nature or a Timid Nature, whatever the case may be of what kind of set you want to run. I feel like this thing should be like a very speedy Pokemon to actually to make this thing be a lot more viable in competitive play, I would say, because like I said, it does have some natural bulk, so you can afford to run like a max speed and max physical attack or max special attack nature. And also with this thing getting access to Hone's Claws, you can probably set up with the Hone's Claws and then pretty much go out from there, because like I said, like you could probably run like Hone's Claws, Play Rough, Crunch, and Poison Jab, and that's pretty much your set right there. So like I said, I always envision this thing maybe being a little bit more faster, so I increased it to base 104, and I feel like it's a very balanced speed stat. Now as a regular Skuntank, its base stat's at 479, and with the Mega Evolution, it's going to be at 579. Now for its ability, I actually decided to give it a new ability called Toxic Smell. Now the name seems fitting, and also I'm hoping that its description, or for what this ability does, actually fits it, because obviously Skuntank is based off of a skunk, so this ability kind of makes sense. But what this ability does is pretty much whenever Skuntank is on the field, your opponent loses 1.3% of their health, so it's pretty much practically taking like life orb damage. But this only happens when Skuntank is on the field. So if you actually like switch out into something else from like Mega Skuntank into like Weavile for an example, then that ability pretty much goes away, because it only happens when Skuntank's on the field, because skunks are obviously like, they spray like very stinky like stuff. And like I said, Toxic Smell, like what it actually does, I think it actually will work very, very well. So with that type of ability, like I said, whenever Skuntank is on the field, your opponent takes 1.3 damage or pretty much 1.3 health, so it's practically like taking life orb damage. But when Skuntank leaves the field, that ability doesn't work anymore until it returns to the field, and vice versa. So that's what that ability does, and I feel like it works very well for Skuntank. Now for its typing, I know I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for this, but I actually decided to take off its dark type characteristics and replaced it with the fairy type characteristics. Now the reason why I've done that is because this thing gets access to Play Rough, and I can really, like, honest to God, like, can see Skuntank being the first poison fairy typing. Now, who says, like, we may get a poison fairy typing in Sun and Moon, but for now, I'm hoping that, like, it actually does change its typing, or its typing for its Mega Evolution, excuse me, to poison fairy, because it does get access to Play Rough, it does get access to poison type moves, so those, so they will get, like, an extra stab boost when it comes to those typings. I mean, even though it does only pretty much gets access to Play Rough, I feel like just its Mega ability will actually do wonders when it comes to being part Fairy. I mean, who knows, there might be more Fairy type moves introduced into Pokemon Sun and Pokemon Moon that could be physical or it could be special, and then maybe Skuntank can actually get access to those moves. And if it does, I can see this thing being part Fairy for its Mega Evolution. So with all that said, there is Mega Skuntank. So anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, and also don't forget to comment and subscribe. Now, I know I said this video is going to be a little bit shorter, but I mean, I kind of lied. So I do apologize about that. But once again, the next Pokemon we are going to be talking about is another duo from 3rd Gen. I've been kind of holding it off just because I kind of didn't want to talk about them, but I kind of want to do it now, if that makes sense. So the next one we are going to be talking about, or should I say the first of the two that we are going to be talking about, is Mega Volbeat. So on, what is it, Friday? Yes, on Friday, you guys will be seeing a Mega Volbeat video. So with all that said, like I said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, and also don't forget to comment and subscribe. So this is White Boy for the win, and I'll catch you guys later.